It was one of the games of 2020 and came from the mind of game director extraordinaire Neil Druckmann. The Last of Us Part 2 is a prime example of great storytelling, beautiful set pieces and dynamic characters. The game received lots of praise, including several award nominations and wins in the process, including bagging a Game of the Year award at the prestigious Game Awards back in December 2020. A lot of fans saw it as a game that is perhaps in their top 10 list of games, but surrounding those accolades and positive energy, there is always hate and negativity that attempts to derail the success. The Last of Us Part 2 is no different. It is perhaps one of the most divisive games in video game history, and the mob of hate for this game almost tarnished the history and respect that game studio Naughty Dog had built over numerous years. They are, after all, Sony's top dog. In this video, I will be explaining those very reasons why the game received so much hate and criticism and tell you how Naughty Dog dealt with the onslaught of negativity. There will be spoilers for The Last of Us Part 2 going forward, so you have been warned. Before we begin, I'd like to ask if you would drop a big thumbs up on the video, as that would be much appreciated. I'd also like it if you subscribe to the channel to see more of these types of videos as well. Just hit the big red button below this video and you will be subscribed to me and you will see my videos pop up in your sub box. Thanks for watching and let's get into this. The first and possibly most controversial reason as to why The Last of Us Part 2 received the hate it did was because of the death of Joel in the first few hours of the game. Early on, Joel and brother Tommy help a woman called Abby as she is mobbed by the infected. Both Joel and Tommy help her escape and attack the infected before Abby takes them back to her safe house of sorts, where her friends in the WLF, that's the Washington Liberation Front, are also staying. Upon finding out who Joel is, side note, in the first game, Joel killed Abby's father, a doctor in the Fireflies, as he tried to find a cure for the infected. Ellie was patient zero. However, Joel found out the surgery would kill Ellie, so he saved her by killing the Fireflies in the hospital. Okay, back to the video. They took him captive and tortured him. Ellie goes looking for him and, hearing his screams for help, tries to save him. The members of the WLF take her down easily and force Ellie to watch Abby batter an injured and bloody Joel with a golf club, where he is subsequently killed. Joel's death came as a shock to fans everywhere, many believing that Joel was an integral part of The Last of Us, and rightly so. He was the main playable character in the first game, and fans believed The Last of Us Part 2 would be a continuation of his story alongside a grown-up Ellie. However, killing him off early into Part 2 left a sour taste in the mouth for many, some just putting the game down straight away after it happened and never to pick it up again. Fans were outraged, as one of the most vital characters of the game was killed off so instantly. Couple that with the fact that everyone's precious Ellie was forced to watch his demise left people shocked and betrayed by Naughty Dog. But the killing of Joel was not to shock fans, it is a huge plot point in the game. He was not killed for the sake of killing. It is part of the overall story, something which some fans did not seem to grasp. Joel does appear in flashbacks throughout the game, but the overall hate for the game was mainly down to his untimely demise at the hands of Abby. The next point actually links very well to the first, with a lot of hate towards the character Abby. Abby, as mentioned before, basically started the game on the wrong foot with fans. Killing Joel herself was bound to leave fans horrified, angry, and wanting to bring justice for Joel by killing Abby. But what upset fans most was that halfway through the game, there is a protagonist switch. The whole first half of the game you play as Ellie, who is searching for the WLF, in particular Abby, to kill them after what they did to Joel. She is looking for vengeance. But the second half of the game switches to the perspective of Abby, from her exploits within the WLF and how she turned on the WLF after befriending a Seraphite, the WLF's main enemy. The switch in protagonist ruffled feathers in the Last of Us community, with fans soon realising they would have to play as the person who killed Joel for the next 8 to 10 hours. For some, that was enough to not only throw criticism at Naughty Dog, but even to abuse the voice actor who played Abby, Laura Bailey. Bailey was abused and harassed online, even receiving death threats for a character she had no control over. She was employed to read the lines given to her. The hate Bailey received was unjustified. It simply was appalling from fans to attack a woman for doing her job. but alongside the torrid abuse of the voice actor was people genuinely not feeling a connection to Abby. Fans had a whole game to get to know Joel and Ellie and can relate to them in their own ways. The characters grew on them and became instantly likeable from the moment they were on our screens. However, with Abby, fans already made up their minds on her when she killed Joel. She became instantly disliked, and then the game had people play as her for 8 to 10 hours. In those hours, people really did not care for Abby as much as they did Ellie, and they could not relate to her on the level that fans could with Ellie. Abby and Ellie are both complicated characters with different feelings and emotions, but they simply do not compare. Ellie was always going to be the more favourable character, so fans saw it as redundant to play nearly half the game as a character that they did not have any feeling for, any emotion for, or just did not want to. The third point here relates to the controversial ending that fans really disapproved of. The ending of the game shows Ellie finding out the whereabouts of Abby, and she intends to go to where she is and finally get her revenge for killing Joel. Ellie finds out that Abby has been held captive by a group called the Rattlers. Once Ellie reaches Abby, who has been hung on a pole with her former Seraphite friend Lev, she rescues them but pulls a knife on Lev, saying that if Abby didn't fight, she'd kill Lev. Once they fight, Abby bites off 2 of Ellie's fingers, however Ellie still overpowers her. Ellie nearly drowns Abby, only to have a change in heart and releases her to disappear with Lev. This ending for fans is not the one they wanted. In fact, the ending even made no sense to some. People tussled with the idea that Ellie's flashback just before she drowned Abby was very convenient. Another side note here, the flashback portrayed Ellie seeing Joel just before he died at his house, where they tried to fix their broken relationship. Back to the video. And that letting her go came from nowhere. Throughout the game, there was no intention from Ellie that she wanted nothing more than to kill Abby and finally get her vengeance. So when she let Abby go, it was more of a WTF moment more than anything. Fans had built up this hope they'd see off the game by finishing off Abby, to finally do away with the people that wronged Ellie, but it simply didn't happen. Ultimately, the widespread hate of the game via things like review bombings from creators encouraging their fans to react negatively was also another cause. Some just did not like the themes of the game and some of the sensitive subject matters the game took on. For example, the representation of the LGBTQ+ community and the racially diverse cast. Some people took a dislike to the fact that Ellie and Dina were in a relationship, or that Lev was transgender and was ousted by the Seraphites because he shaved his head. The unjustified hate for a game showcasing inclusive representation is not a real reason to hate on something. The gaming community as a whole is one that has become more inclusive over time, but with it being showcased in a game as huge as The Last of Us Part 2 only paves the way for further representation in video games in the future. But some content creators had their own agenda. It was thought that the game itself would be very similar to the first, but as Druckmann said back in 2016, the first was a game of love, whereas the second is a game of hate. It was always going to be different and something fans did not expect when the second released. It is a game that has split fans down the middle. Some love it and some hate it, but if you want my opinion, I absolutely love it. So in my next video, I will be explaining why people love The Last of Us Part 2. So those are some of the reasons why The Last of Us Part 2 received so much hate. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like as you head out, as that would be greatly appreciated. Comment down below what you think of the game, and please do hit that subscribe button to never miss a video from me. Speak to you in the next one. Take care.